I pretended not to know about my wife's affair for 6 months to plan the perfect exit. She had no idea what was coming. By the time she realized, it was already too late. I still remember the exact moment my life split into before and after. It was a Tuesday evening in March, and I was sitting in my car outside her house, staring at my phone screen with hands that wouldn't stop shaking. The text message from an unknown number had come through 20 minutes earlier while I was wrapping up a client meeting. Thought you should know your wife isn't working late. She's at the Marriott downtown with someone. Room 537. I'm sorry. My first instinct was to storm inside, to confront her right then and there, to demand answers, to scream, to throw things, to do all the explosive, destructive things that every betrayed spouse imagines doing in that moment. But something stopped me. Maybe it was shock. Maybe it was the part of my brain that never fully shuts off, even in crisis. Or maybe, deep down, I already knew that if I wanted to survive what was coming, I needed to be smarter than my emotions. So instead of going inside, I drove to that Marriott. I parked across the street where I had a clear view of the entrance. And I waited. At 9:47 p.m., my wife Sarah walked out. She wasn't alone. Next to her, with his hand on the small of her back in a way that made my stomach turn, was Marcus. Marcus fucking Richardson. My business partner of 7 years. The man who had stood beside me at our wedding as one of my groomsmen. The man whose kids had playdates with our kids. The man whose wife Jennifer was Sarah's close friend. I watched them kiss goodbye in the parking lot. Not a quick peck. A long, familiar kiss that spoke of routine, of comfort, of something that had been going on for far longer than one night. Then they got into separate cars and drove away in different directions. I sat there for another hour, unable to move, unable to think, unable to do anything except replay every interaction I'd had with both of them over the past months. The late work meetings that Sarah had. The business trips Marcus and I took where he always seemed distracted. The girls' nights that Sarah suddenly started having every Thursday. The way Marcus had suggested we expand the firm and take on more associates, which meant more work, more travel, more time apart. It all made sense now. Horrible, perfect sense. When I finally drove home at nearly midnight, Sarah was already in bed, pretending to be asleep. I stood in the doorway of our bedroom, watching the rise and fall of her breathing, and realized I didn't even recognize the person lying there. 15 years of marriage. 2 kids. A whole life we'd built together. And it was all a lie. But here's the thing about being a divorce attorney. I'd seen hundreds of cases over my career. I'd watched people destroy themselves financially and emotionally by acting on impulse. I'd seen cheating spouses hide assets, drain accounts, and turn children into weapons. I'd watched good people lose everything because they were too hurt, too angry, too broken to think strategically. I wasn't going to be one of those people. That night, lying in bed next to my wife while my mind raced, I made a decision. I wouldn't confront her. Not yet. Instead, I would plan. I would prepare. I would make sure that when this marriage ended, and it was going to end, I would walk away with everything I deserved and my kids would be protected. I gave myself 6 months. Month 1, discovery. The first thing I did was hire a private investigator. Not just any PI, but the best one in the state, someone who'd testified in dozens of my cases. His name was Ray, a former cop with 30 years of experience and a reputation for being thorough. I need everything, I told him at our first meeting, which I scheduled during my lunch break at a coffee shop 40 minutes from my office. Photos, videos, timeline, everything. I need to know how long this has been going on, where they meet, how often. I need evidence that will hold up in court. Ray looked at me with sympathy that made me want to punch something. How long you been married? 15 years. 2 kids, 8 and 11. He nodded slowly. I'm sorry, man. I'll get you what you need. While Ray started surveillance, I began my own investigation at home. I became a ghost in my own life, observing everything while revealing nothing. I noticed things I'd been too trusting, too busy, too stupid to see before. Sarah's phone was always face down now. She took it with her everywhere, even to the bathroom. She'd started going to the gym 6 days a week, and her body looked better than it had in years. Not for me, I realized. For him. I checked our phone records online. Hundreds of texts to a number I didn't recognize. I cross-referenced it with Marcus's assistant's phone bill, which was under our business account. It was his personal cell. I installed a keylogger on the family computer. Within 3 days, I had access to her email. There it was, an entire Gmail account I didn't know existed. The emails went back 14 months. 14 months. More than a year. While I was working 60-hour weeks to build our firm, to provide for our family, to give her the life she said she wanted, she was fucking my business partner. The emails were explicit. Detailed. They talked about their future together. How they would eventually leave their spouses and be together. How the sex with me was boring and obligatory. How Marcus made her feel alive again. How they fantasized about running away together. I read every single email. I printed and saved copies of everything to a secure cloud account Ray had set up for me. And then I went downstairs, kissed my wife good morning, made breakfast for my kids, and went to work like nothing had changed. The acting was the hardest part. Looking Marcus in the eye during partner meetings. Laughing at his jokes. Discussing case strategies and firm expansion. All while knowing that he was sleeping with my wife, that he was betraying not just me but his own wife and kids. But I did it. Because I had a plan. Month 2. Financial preparation. Once I had confirmation of the affair, I shifted focus to finances. This is where most people screw up in divorce. They act emotionally and end up losing half of everything, or worse. Sarah and I had a comfortable life. Our house was worth $1.2 million, with about $400K still on the mortgage. We had retirement accounts, investment portfolios, savings, and of course, my half of the law firm, which was valued at approximately $3.5 million. Under normal circumstances, a divorce would mean splitting everything 50-50. But circumstances weren't normal. Sarah was having an affair, and in our state, that mattered. While we weren't a pure fault state, adultery was still a factor judges considered, especially in asset division and alimony. But I needed to be smart. I couldn't drain accounts or hide money. That's illegal and judges hate it. But I could protect myself. First, I documented everything we owned. I photographed every room in our house, every piece of valuable property. I downloaded statements for every bank account, every investment, every credit card. I made copies of tax returns going back 10 years. I created a detailed spreadsheet of our assets and debts. Then I did something that felt devious but was completely legal. I stopped contributing to our joint account beyond what was necessary for basic bills. Instead, I opened a new checking account at a different bank and started depositing my bonuses and extra earnings there. This wasn't hiding money, it was just not commingling new income. Ray's attorney had confirmed this was fine since the divorce proceedings hadn't started yet. I also started paying down my personal credit card debt and our mortgage more aggressively. Better to have equity and clear debts than cash that would have to be split. At work, I met with our firm's accountant and attorney about partnership agreements. Marcus and I had never formalized certain aspects of our arrangement because we were friends and trusted each other. That was about to change. I'm thinking we should update our operating agreement, I told Marcus casually one afternoon. We've grown enough that we should have clear buyout provisions, succession planning, all that stuff. Just being smart. Marcus agreed immediately. Of course he did. He had no idea what was coming. Over the next 3 weeks, I worked with our corporate attorney to draft an agreement that heavily favored me in a buyout scenario. The key was a morality clause, something that stated if a partner's personal conduct brought disrepute to the firm, their buyout percentage could be reduced. It was presented as protection against embezzlement or malpractice, but it was broad enough to cover a partner sleeping with another partner's wife. Marcus signed it without reading it carefully. I had copies notarized and filed. Month 3. Evidence gathering. By month 3, Ray had accumulated a mountain of evidence. Photos of Sarah and Marcus entering hotels together. Video footage of them kissing in parking lots. Credit card receipts showing Marcus paying for hotel rooms and dinners. Cell tower data confirming they were in the same locations, often when Sarah had told me she was somewhere else. But the most damaging evidence came from something I hadn't anticipated, Marcus's wife Jennifer. It started innocuously enough. Jennifer called me one evening, asking if I'd seen Marcus. He wasn't answering his phone, and she was worried. I told her he'd left the office hours ago, which was true. We chatted for a few minutes, and something in her voice made me pause. She sounded stressed, suspicious, like she was holding something back. "Jennifer," I said carefully, "is everything okay? With you and Marcus?" There was a long silence. Then, "I think he's having an affair." My heart stopped. "What makes you think that?" "He's just different. Distant. Always on his phone. Working late all the time. I found a hotel charge on our credit card that he said was for a client meeting, but when I called the hotel, they said the room was registered under a different name."
She paused.
"I'm probably being paranoid." "You're not paranoid," I said quietly. "Trust your instincts." I should have told her right then. It would have been the right thing to do. But I couldn't risk it, not yet. If Jennifer confronted Marcus, he would tell Sarah, and Sarah would know that I knew. My entire plan would collapse. So instead, I did something I'm not proud of, but don't regret. I suggested Jennifer hire a PI. I even recommended Ray, knowing he was already on the case. I figured she deserved to know the truth, and if she independently discovered the affair, it would only strengthen my position. 2 weeks later, Jennifer had her own set of photos and evidence. She called me crying, and this time I met her for coffee. "It's Sarah," she sobbed. "He's sleeping with Sarah. Your Sarah. My best friend." I held her while she cried, and I told her that I knew. I'd known for months. And together, we began coordinating our strategies. Month 4. Custody preparation. The kids were my biggest concern. Tyler was 11, Emma was 8. They didn't deserve any of this. The thought of them being hurt by their mother's choices made me angrier than anything else. I started documenting everything related to parenting. Who took the kids to school in the morning, usually me? Who helped with homework, me? Who attended parent-teacher conferences, mostly me, sometimes both of us? Who went to soccer games and dance recitals? I never missed one. Sarah missed about half. I wasn't trying to paint Sarah as a bad mother, she wasn't. But I wanted to establish that I was an equal, if not primary, caregiver. In custody battles, perception matters. I also started being more present. I cut back on work where I could. I volunteered to chaperone field trips. I joined the PTA. I made sure my kids knew that Dad was reliable, consistent, and always there. Sarah noticed the change. "You're home a lot more lately," she commented one evening. "Yeah, well, I realized I was working too much," I said, looking her straight in the eye. "Family should come first. Don't you think?" She looked uncomfortable and changed the subject. I also consulted with a child psychologist off the record about how to minimize trauma during divorce. She recommended maintaining stability, keeping routines consistent, and never speaking negatively about the other parent in front of the kids. I took notes on everything. The hardest part was pretending everything was fine. Playing happy family at dinner. Reading bedtime stories. Kissing Sarah goodnight. All while knowing our marriage was already over, that she was planning a future without me. But I did it. For my kids. And for myself. Month 5. Legal strategy. With 5 months of preparation behind me, I finally met with my divorce attorney. Not someone from my firm, obviously, but the best divorce attorney in the state, Patricia Gonzalez. She was a shark, known for aggressive tactics and winning cases that seemed unwinnable. I walked into her office with 3 binders full of evidence and documentation. Bank statements, property lists, photos of the affair, emails, text messages, everything. Patricia went through it all methodically, making notes, asking questions. When she finally looked up, she was smiling. "This is the most prepared I've ever seen a client," she said. "You've done my job for me. I'm a divorce attorney myself," I reminded her. "I know what matters." "Then you know you're going to come out of this very well," she said. "The evidence of adultery is overwhelming and sustained over a long period. The fact that it's with your business partner makes it worse. You have clear documentation of being the primary parent. Your financial records are impeccable, and that morality clause in your partnership agreement." She laughed. "That's brilliant." We spent 3 hours going over strategy. how to approach the initial filing, what to ask for in temporary orders, how to handle asset division, what custody arrangement to pursue. I want primary custody, I said. Not sole custody. I don't want to keep the kids from their mother. But I want them with me most of the time. And I want the house. You'll get both, Patricia said confidently. When do you want to file? 1 more month, I said. I want to time it right. Month 6, the end game. The final month was about timing. I wanted to file for divorce in a way that would maximize my advantage and minimize Sarah's ability to respond. Through Jennifer, I learned that Marcus was planning to leave her and ask Sarah to leave me. They were going to do it together, some kind of coordinated announcement. How romantic. They'd apparently planned it for early September, right after Labor Day. I decided to beat them to it. I filed for divorce on a Friday afternoon in late August. Patricia had timed it perfectly. The papers would be served to Sarah at home on Saturday morning when the kids were at their grandparents' house for the weekend, something I'd arranged specifically for this purpose. That same morning, Jennifer filed for divorce from Marcus. And I sent an email to every partner and associate at our firm with copies of the evidence explaining why I was dissolving my partnership with Marcus, invoking the morality clause. But I wasn't done. I'd spent the past week quietly moving my essential belongings out of the house, a little at a time. Important documents, sentimental items, some clothes. Everything was in a storage unit under my name only. On Friday night, I took Sarah out to dinner. She was surprised. We hadn't been on a date in months. We went to the same restaurant where I'd proposed to her 15 years earlier. Is everything okay? She asked over appetizers. You've been acting strange lately. Everything's fine. I lied, looking into her eyes. Eyes that I'd once thought I'd look into for the rest of my life. I just wanted to spend time with you. We've both been so busy. She smiled and reached across the table to take my hand. I'm glad. I've missed this. Missed us. The audacity of it. The sheer fucking audacity. She was holding my hand while planning to leave me for my best friend. While our marriage was already over in her mind. I almost told her right then. Almost threw the divorce papers across the table and watched her face crumble. But I didn't. I had a plan and I was sticking to it. We finished dinner. I paid the bill. We drove home, and I kissed her goodnight. One last time. The next morning, I was up early. I made coffee, checked my phone, and waited. At 8:47 a.m., the doorbell rang. Who's that? Sarah called from upstairs. I'll get it. I called back. I opened the door. The process server stood there with an envelope. I nodded to him, and he rang the doorbell again. Sarah came down the stairs in her robe. What's going on? The process server handed her the envelope. Sarah Mitchell? You've been served. I watched her face as she opened it. Watched the confusion turn to shock, then to horror as she read the divorce petition. All 27 pages of it, detailing her affair, requesting primary custody, listing every asset, and including selected photos as exhibits. What is this? She looked at me, and I saw genuine fear in her eyes. Is this a joke? No joke, I said calmly. I know about Marcus. I've known for 6 months. The color drained from her face. 6 months? That's not, we can talk about this. We can work through this. There's nothing to work through. You made your choice. Now you get to live with it. The kids are at your parents' house, exactly where I need them to be. You should probably call your lawyer. You're going to need one. She started crying then. Begging. Explaining. It was the stress. She wasn't happy. She made a mistake. She still loved me. We could go to counseling. She would end it with Marcus immediately. I let her talk. When she finally stopped, I said, You should also know that Jennifer knows. She's filing for divorce from Marcus today too. And the entire firm knows. I sent an email last night. You what? Her face went white. Why would you? Because actions have consequences, Sarah. You destroyed our marriage. You destroyed our family. You destroyed my business partnership. And you did it all while lying to my face every single day for 14 months. It wasn't like that. It was exactly like that. I have the emails. All of them. I have the photos. the videos, the hotel receipts. I have everything. So here's how this is going to work. You're going to move out of this house today. I'm staying here with the kids. You can take whatever clothes and personal items you need, but that's it. Everything else stays. You can't kick me out of my own house. Actually, I can. Read the temporary order attached to the petition. Judge Morrison granted it yesterday. You have 6 hours to get your essential belongings and leave, or I call the police. I'd spent months planning this moment, imagining what I'd say, how I'd feel. I thought I'd feel vindicated, powerful, in control. Instead, I just felt tired.
And sad. And done.
Sarah called Marcus. I could hear her panicked voice from across the room. He didn't answer. Of course he didn't. He was dealing with his own disaster. By 2 p.m., Sarah had packed 3 suitcases and left. She went to stay with her sister. I changed the locks that afternoon. When I picked up the kids from their grandparents that evening, I told them that Mom and I were taking some time apart. That sometimes adults need space to figure things out. That it had nothing to do with them, and that both Mom and I loved them very much. Tyler, my 11-year-old, looked at me with eyes that were too knowing. Is it because Mom was seeing Uncle Marcus? My blood ran cold. What? I saw them kissing. A few months ago. I came home early from a friend's house and saw them in the garage. I didn't tell you, because I didn't want you to be sad. I pulled my son into my arms and held him while he cried. My little boy, carrying that secret for months, trying to protect me. It's not your fault, I told him. None of this is your fault. And you don't have to protect me. That's my job, to protect you. Emma didn't fully understand, but she knew something was wrong. She clung to me all evening. That night, after I'd put them both to bed, I sat alone in the living room and finally let myself feel everything I'd been suppressing for 6 months. The anger, the betrayal, the grief for the life I'd thought I had. And then I poured myself a drink, opened my laptop, and started working on the next phase of my plan. The aftermath. The divorce took 8 months to finalize. It was brutal, but I was prepared for brutal. Sarah fought for 50-50 custody. I won primary custody with her getting alternating weekends and 1 weeknight dinner. The judge cited my evidence of being the primary caregiver and Tyler's testimony about what he'd witnessed, which the judge said had clearly traumatized him. I kept the house. Sarah got to keep her car and her retirement account, but she had to buy me out of her share of the equity, which she couldn't afford, so she had to give up other assets instead. She didn't get alimony. The judge's exact words were, "You don't get to betray your spouse and then expect them to support you financially." Most satisfying was the business side. The morality clause held up. Marcus was forced to sell me his half of the firm at a 40% discount to market value. I now own the firm outright. Marcus had to hang up his own shingle and start over. Sarah and Marcus didn't end up together either. Turns out their relationship couldn't survive outside the exciting bubble of an affair. Jennifer took him to the cleaners in their divorce too. Last I heard, Marcus was living in a 1-bedroom apartment and barely seeing his kids. Sarah got a job at a different law firm. We communicate only about the kids through a parenting app. It's civil but cold. Sometimes I see her looking at me with regret in her eyes, but I feel nothing. That part of me that loved her died the night I watched her kiss my best friend in a parking lot. The kids are doing okay. We're in family therapy. Tyler struggled for a while, but he's getting better. Emma adapted more easily. Kids are resilient in ways that amaze me. As for me, I'm rebuilding. The firm is thriving. I'm a better father now than I was before, more present, more focused on what actually matters. I've even started dating again, though I'm taking it very slow. Trust doesn't come easily anymore. People ask me if the 6 months of planning was worth it. If I should have just confronted her immediately, ripped off the Band-Aid, gotten it over with. My answer is always the same. Yes. Every day of playing pretend was worth it. Every night of sleeping next to someone I couldn't stand to touch was worth it. Every moment of swallowing my rage and my hurt was worth it. Because in the end, I didn't just survive my divorce. I won it. I protected my kids, protected my assets, and protected my future. And Sarah and Marcus both learned that actions have consequences. Sometimes revenge isn't about destruction. Sometimes it's about preparation. Sometimes the best revenge is just being smarter than the people who tried to screw you over. Update 3 months later. A lot of you have been asking for an update, so here it is. The biggest news: Sarah lost her job. Turns out sleeping with a colleague's husband and having it become public knowledge isn't great for your professional reputation in a small legal community.
Who knew?
She's struggling financially, which I know because she filed a motion to modify the custody arrangement to reduce her child support obligations. The judge denied it. Patricia suggested I could be gracious and voluntarily reduce the amount, but I declined. Sarah needs to learn to live within her means, just like I've had to rebuild my life. Tyler and Emma are thriving. Tyler made honor roll this semester, and Emma's doing great in dance. We have a routine now, and they seem happier than they were even before the divorce. Kids can sense tension, even when you think you're hiding it. Our house is more peaceful now than it was in that last year of the marriage. The firm had its best year ever. Turns out Marcus was actually dragging us down with his distracted leadership. I promoted 2 associates to junior partner, and we're expanding into family law mediation. The irony isn't lost on me. Jennifer and I have become good friends. Not romantic, just friends who went through similar hell and came out the other side. Our kids have playdates sometimes. It's nice to have someone who understands. As for Marcus, I heard through the grapevine that he's struggling. Professionally isolated, financially squeezed, and from what I understand, drinking more than he should. Part of me feels bad for him. A very small part. The rest of me remembers watching him put his hand on my wife's back and feels nothing. Someone in the comments asked if I ever regret not confronting Sarah immediately, giving her a chance to explain or fight for the marriage. The answer is no. A marriage can't survive that kind of betrayal, and trust, once broken that completely, can't be repaired. The only question was whether I would let emotion destroy my future or whether I'd be smart about it. I chose smart. And I'd do it again in a heartbeat. To everyone going through something similar, document everything. Consult a lawyer before making any moves. Don't act on emotion. And remember, living well really is the best revenge. Final update, 1 year later. I'm writing this final update because I want to close this chapter of my life, and sharing my story here was part of my healing process. Tyler and Emma are doing great. We've settled into a good rhythm. Sarah sees them regularly, and I'll admit she's been trying to be a better mother. We'll never be friends, but we've managed to become functional co-parents for the sake of our kids. The firm is flourishing beyond my expectations. I hired 3 new associates this year, and we're opening a second office across town. The Marcus situation actually made the firm stronger in the long run, more focused, more successful. I met someone. Her name is Rachel. She's a pediatrician, divorced with 2 kids of her own. We took it slow, very slow, but 6 months ago we moved in together. The kids get along well. It's different from what I had with Sarah, more grounded, more honest. I trust her, and that's something I didn't think I'd be able to say about anyone again. Sarah knows about Rachel. I saw something in her face when I told her, something like regret or jealousy. But that's not my problem anymore. Marcus apparently moved to another state. Jennifer told me he's trying to start fresh somewhere his reputation didn't precede him. I hope he finds whatever he's looking for. I hope he's learned something. As for Sarah, she eventually got a job at a smaller firm and seems to be rebuilding her life. She's dating someone according to the kids. I'm genuinely happy for her. Not in a vindictive way, but because she's the mother of my children and I want her to be stable and happy for their sake. The person I was a year and a half ago, the one who sat in his car outside a hotel feeling his world collapse, seems like a stranger now. I've learned that you can survive what you think will destroy you. That pain transforms you, but it doesn't have to break you. That betrayal teaches you who you really are and what you're capable of. I'm stronger now, wiser, more careful with my trust, but not closed off to connection. I've built a better life than the one I lost, and I've become a better man in the process. To everyone who supported me through this journey in the comments, thank you. Your words helped more than you know. This is my last update. It's time to move forward and leave this story in the past where it belongs. To anyone dealing with infidelity right now, you'll survive this. You'll be okay. And someday, if you're smart and patient and refuse to let betrayal defeat you, you'll thrive. Be smart. Be patient. Be strategic. And never let anyone make you doubt your worth.
Good luck out there.